Cool.
Up from the 36 chambers! It has begun.
The podcast is up and running. Let me go ahead and pop mines all the way.
Get that beer ASMR in there.
Yeah.
My boys, this shit's good.
What is Nick drinking on today?
Let me tell you about this. This is bad right here. Coming straight from Sycamore. The Special Brownies Chocolate Stout.
This chocolate.
This heavy dog is rolling with 7.3 on the ALC by volume, dog.
Oh my god.
Yeah, family owned, established in 2013. It's a Charlotte company. So.
Is it kicking good? Is it?
Yeah, you want to give it a go?
Yeah, we'll give it a go.
It's a good.
Not bad. Definitely. You said chocolate, right?
Chocolate stout, yeah.
So,
Brownie.
Everyone
I will taste.
give a little dang doodle.
Interesting. Oh yeah.
Boy.
I've had it. It's very good.
I've had it to someone.
Very coffee.
what is Irving drinking on today?
I am having a Lake James Ice Jaeger beer. Lager beer.
Lager.
Wow. It is from Nebo, North Carolina.
Fonta Flora Brewery.
Shout out North Carolina.
6.5 alcohol.
Okay.
Percent.
I got the Flying Dog. Picked it up at the Harris Teeter.
The local Harris Teeter.
I don't know where it's from. But it is the Double Dog Double IPA, reckoned at 12%.
It's got a picture of a dog in a diaper.
Wow. 12%, folks.
I almost got the Raging Bitch, but it was a Belgian IPA. And
That'd be too much rage in this room.
yeah.
For the folks that can't see, there is some kind of hybrid
Dog.
Humanoid
monster.
with like a bunch of little titties on it.
That is what 12% beer looks like.
Yeah, little diaper dog, Dan, baby.
For the camera, yep. There it is.
Crazy.
And
I think I went on labeling.
I am drinking on Colorado's stem cider off dry. It's hitting at a 5.8 in terms of alcohol by volume. And like I said, it's from Colorado. So.
It's gluten-free.
And it's also gluten-free.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So we got your local boys over here and then the foreigners.
What's MD?
Maryland.
Yes,
Yeah.
Maryland.
So, hello everyone. Hello, viewers. As you notice, we have now 2 cameras set up and ready to go. So this was one of the goals, and we reached it, and we're really happy to be kind of extending our
Footprint.
Yeah, our footprint. Really, kind of being more. I guess having the ability to be a little bit more immersive with you guys. So yeah, that's going on, and then we have a special guest here with us today.
Hell of a special guest.
And then we have a returning guest here today with us. And I still want
She's going for double
both
jeopardy.
of you to introduce, especially you, Irvin, because you have never been on the show, but
I have.
boy, you have. But just in case we have new listeners or new viewers coming in, I want everyone to be accustomed to who all is here. So, if you guys don't mind,
Sure. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I am returning. This is my 3rd episode. I was on both episodes of the covering sex topics. My name is Foy. I live here in Greensboro. Nick is my roommate.
Hey.
I'm a manager of a tattoo studio and a line cook. I'm the manager of Golden Spiral Tattoo Studio and a line cook at Mother Tucker's Best Wings in town.
Nice.
so anyone in Greensboro,
Shout out. Come say
Mother
hey.
Tuckers, come say hey.
I'm Irving Maldonado, visual artist here in Greensboro, from Hickory, North Carolina.
Yeah, it's next to Asheville, right?
Yeah, it's on the.
You're
It's
like
heading
Lenore.
towards Asheville.
Yeah, it's halfway between Greensboro and Asheville,
Yeah.
on the way to Asheville.
Okay.
Yeah, it's directly on the way.
Out in the hills, buddy.
Oh yeah,
Hell yeah. Some fun trails out
there's nothing.
I actually passed through Hickory not too long ago, just because we were on our way to Asheville.
Yeah.
That way earlier, but what do you? Because I know you as a friend.
Right. Yeah.
But I kind of want the listeners and the viewers to kind of get a little better picture of like who is exactly talking and sharing. Something that he has not mentioned is that he's a hell of a photographer. He said a visual artist, but photography, obviously photography is a part
Those
of
are
it.
yeah. Those are the main things I do. Photo, video. I'm not really as good as a illustrator, painter that I liked or that I hoped that I was at a younger age, but photo and video is like really interesting to me now.
Yeah.
I know a couple weeks ago you were showing us some of your digital stuff.
Yeah.
That shit's wild, dog.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, spot on.
And we'll go ahead and link you up on our YouTube description just so everyone kind of knows who all is on the show in future episodes and in previous episodes, as well as you for it. So yeah, totally. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. I believe we are on episode 6.
7.
Six.
7?
6.
I can't count.
6. So yeah, episode 6, and today we transitioning from the topic of our previous episode 6 wanted to, for some twisted reason, cover
A little flick of the nipple, switch the switch. Serial killers.
Serial killers. Yep, that's today's focus.
Booyah.
There's a lot of, I guess, reasons why I feel like there's a fascination with serial killers.
Oh, that totally is, isn't
It's
it?
like the train wreck that you can't look away from. Yeah.
I was reading something on the internet and it said every year there is 25 to 50 active serial killers in the United States.
It's kind of alarming, but
It is alarming. It's very alarming because at first it doesn't seem like a lot in comparison to like, what is it, like 350 million Americans or like people living in America, right?
Sounds
or
about right.
something around there. But like 25 to 50, it looks like a small ratio, but the fact that there's 25 to 50 people willing to like, do a lot of gruesome, like sadistic stuff to people at any given time is scary.
oh yeah.
Before we go anywhere else with it, let's discuss what is a serial killer.
Yeah.
I think Foy's probably the best person to ask for that definition. I know it's kind of...
It's gonna be kind of just like off the top of my head definition, but I guess as far as serial killers go, there's some people have been labeled as serial killers and they've killed maybe 4 or 5 people, and then there are people that are more in the upwards of like 50s, closer to 100 people that they've killed. And there's differences between the types of serial killers, which are product killers that basically just kill, like, if anyone's familiar with Ed Gein, he was a product killer that killed for and grave robbed for the carcasses of his victims and would make things out of his victims. And then there's process killers that get a high from the actual like ritual and act of killing.
Okay, so process versus
Product.
And product is, if I'm understanding it correctly,
You just kill them the easiest way possible,
Right.
usually,
Yeah.
and then using the body for
Right.
whatever they
choose.
want to use it for.
Right, and then product is just like process would be just the
The actual like
killing.
torture, probably like BTK, like the process of actually torturing and killing these people.
Okay. And so I want to draw a line between serial killers and murderers. Like a murderer is someone that does something like in the moment, so to speak. It's not necessary.
It's not like something that
It could be like premeditated almost, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's Not someone that is going to be a repeat offender necessarily.
And serial killers also most of the time have a type. They have a certain like gender or people of certain professions, people of certain races that they usually target as victims versus just, someone who
has a vendetta.
Right.
Right. I mean, technically, if we're talking about murders, I mean, a person that gets drunk and runs someone over on, throughout the
right.
process is quote unquote a murderer.
Right.
So.
I mean, serial killers are murderers, but
right.
It's kind of like
there's an extra step past murder to get to serial killer.
Okay, it's the whole like not all cars are Toyotas, but some Toyotas are cars concept.
Yeah. Basically.
Sick.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so serial killers in general, they kill in sequence by number kind of thing. Like, all right.
Yeah, there's usually there's a body count.
All right, so I think that kind of rounds up the understanding of what one is.
Yeah. So serial killers are serial killers. I'm kind of trying to still wrap my mind around why. Well, I mean, we'll get to that later. We'll kind of dissect certain patterns and traits that all of these people have whenever they're performing the act of killing. But do you guys think we should just jump right in?
Yeah, of course. Let's not hold it up. So I guess everybody tonight has at least one serial killer they want to touch on. I figured since I am a veteran, I would pick on another veteran. I figured that was only fair.
I have some stuff on your guy too if you want to jump in.
Super prepared over here, Foy. Look at you. I am not as prepared. I actually went to Murderpedia because I didn't know what else to do. But yeah, I picked Dean Coral. I think that's how you say his name.
Coral.
So where's that name? Where does that person come from? Like a name like that.
Well,
did you get that or not?
That's his actual name. His parents gave it to him. He was born in Indiana. That's what you're asking.
Indiana. Because it sounded, I don't know, maybe I'm being like an asshole for thinking it, but it sounded like it originated from maybe another country.
Coral?
Well, the way you said it,
I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Dean, Corll.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
All right.
Maybe it's like a Hispanic thing. It's Corey? I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to sit here and get stuck on that. Yeah, so Dean Coral goes by the serial killer nickname of Candyman.
Oh.
Love it.
Man.
Perfect.
That's very original.
Perfect.
Yeah.
He was the origin of
Really?
it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I am in here for a treat.
So they
no pun intended.
They have characterized his person as being a homosexual rapist and mutilator. And yeah, he was born in 1939, victimized some 28 people roughly. I was digging a little more and found that they actually suspected to be a higher number, but they aren't positive. And I think that's a case that happens a lot with serial killings. His primary method of murder was a shooting and strangulation. Yeah, the printer kind of crapped out on me, so I can't read half of this. And he was based out of Houston, Texas, in an area called the Heights. His family operated a candy factory. And
that's probably the name.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. So the whole veteran thing falls into play where he was drafted into the Army in 1964.
What was that? Was that 64? Was that Vietnam? Or was that 70s?
It started in 65.
I'm just wondering why he was
Well,
drafted. Because I'm assuming it was for Vietnam. Because everyone,
But what was his job?
So he was stationed in Fort Polk in Louisiana for basic training, and then established into Fort Benning, Georgia, permanently reassigned to Fort Hood shortly after there in Texas as a repairman for radio systems. So he never actually made it out of the States, and it's probably a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. Depends on how that would have gone. You don't really know. But yeah, he ended up requesting to be separated from the armed forces in 1965, so he really didn't spend a lot of time in there.
He was in for 10 months.
Roughly, yeah.
Yikes.
He said that he had like a hardship and his family needed him back at the factory, so they're like, all right, boy, get on out of here.
Honorably discharged.
Yeah, and that's kind of wild, because I know in my case that would have never have happened. I'd have been like talking to the chief of the boat, be like, yo, Cobb, I need to go home. Like, my granddad needs me to help him clean out the shed. He'd be like, we'll get right on that. Would have gone over real smooth. So the big shtick with this guy is he made two accomplices that would actually he gained the friendship of two younger boys. They were like in their late teens, early 20s, and what they would do is they would coax their friend group and like people they knew.
Now, how old is this? Do we know how old he is throughout this process?
He was in his 40s at the
40s?
time,
Okay.
I think. And
so a 40-year-old dude hanging out with like...
Yeah, he's twice their age.
Yeah.
When he first met one of them, David Brooks.
Brooks, yeah.
David Brooks was 12 years old.
Oh, wow.
Because their candy store was across the street
So this is not
from
even
an
like,
elementary
this is not
school.
even like double the age. This is like significant.
Right. And so what he's doing is like he had like forged this like friendship with these two younger boys and having them
get
like
the candy.
yeah, like because legitimately he would like give them free candy, and like kids will do anything for candy back in the day. Apparently, I mean, you give me candy today, like you just think I'm that kind of fat kid.
It was a treat, and it was like less. I would assume it's like a little bit less accessible at that time.
Watch your paper on the GoPro.
Yeah. So yeah, the ages that he killed were anywhere between like 13 and 18. Generally, like there were some older ones and some younger ones, and he ended up actually being killed by those two kids that were his accomplices.
Do you have anything as to like how that occurred? Like
So what he would do a lot of the time is he would take them out to like his family's rental homes or this cabin, like little property that his family had, and I think it wasn't Brooks. What was the other kid's name?
Elmer Henley.
Yeah, Elmer. I think was the one that actually shot him.
Oh, so it was like
But so like one of the kids was like not having it that night for whatever reason, and he pulled a gun on him, shot him in the chest, then shot him in the back, and he died on scene.
So the story on that is, like Nick said, Brooks and Henley would help recruit people for Coral to kill, and there was this one night that Brooks introduced Henley and Coral, because this was after Brooks had dropped out of high school and basically had become kind of sort of Coral's like kind of live-in boyfriend. And one night Henley was out with one of his friends and ran into another one of his friends that was a girl, and she had an abusive father, and they were like, hey, come with us and go hang out at our buddy's house. And Coral got very, very upset that they brought a girl there, and got them super drunk and bound them and stripped them and told Henley that he was going to kill his friends because he brought a girl there, and that he was going to help him kill his friends. So Henley was like,
wait,
fuck
so
this.
There's a lot of names being thrown around, and I just don't want to be confused. So the serial killer's name, once again, is...
Dean Coral.
Coral. Okay. And then the two boys...
Brooks and Henley.
Okay,
These are their last names.
Okay. And then so they brought a girl over.
Henley did. Brooks wasn't really involved in this.
Okay.
Henley and another one of his friends, I can't remember his name, but the girl's last name was Williams. And Coral basically was like, all right, you're going to help me kill your friends. And he was like, nope, I'm not having this, because he had taken his vines off and shot Coral with his own 22 caliber pistol.
That's the worst. When you shot by your own gun.
By your own gun.
Butt naked.
I guess.
Woody Harrelson would never have it.
It's an ironic kind of twist to things. What's that happened to him?
But yes, that's my guy. Plain and simple.
Yeah, it is.
I wouldn't call it plain or simple, really.
Yeah, it's not. It's anything but
call
plain
it
and
the
simple.
compressed version.
Interesting little anecdote. So the mom had been Coral's mom had been married multiple times, and her second husband, they started a candy company called the Pecan Prince. And then when they got divorced, she started another candy company called the Coral Candy Company. And Dean Coral was the vice president. And they hired a lot of, younger people. And one of the teenage employees reported to Mrs. Coral that Dean had made some sexual advances towards him, and she fired him.
So his mom
fired the kid. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And he came out basically and said he was a homosexual and had homosexual experiences while he was in the army.
I can't help but wonder how good that damn candy was. That they would continue coming back and helping him.
Well, Coral had set up, because the candy store was across the street from the elementary school.
Right.
He had set up a pool table in one of the back rooms, and it was a local teenage hangout. So he was the cool older uncle.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a weird kind of thing.
Gross.
Yeah.
Well, there it is.
You
There
want
you have
some
it.
candy, daddy boy? Come on back to my cabin. Got it in the cellar.
Oh, God, no. No, Carl, you fucking creep. Shit. These fucking kids alone.
Leave the kids alone. Irvin,
Yes.
Batter up.
batter up.
So, earlier when I was doing my lookup for just people, I was looking through the list of infamous serial killers like Aileen Woodley, Jeffrey Dahmer, all those, but I guess a lot of people have always heard of those, so I didn't really want to touch upon them. But I found this one Englishman named Harold Shipman. He was called the Angel of Death by a patient weeks before he had died.
Fucking
The patient.
The patient had called him that.
Wait, but weeks before the patient died? Or?
Weeks before the patient died.
Okay.
So apparently this general practitioner in England was using diamorphine injections on his patients, and at the time that he was about 55, he was being he was being convicted of 15 of the murders, but then it had been discovered that it was he was probably injecting about 200 he had killed about 250 people
From the amount that he was
from the 20 years that he had been doing his his standalone practice, which is crazy.
Oh, so he does have his own practice.
Yeah, he had
it's
his
not under, okay.
he was doing everything on his own. Just a one-man band. But yeah, he would go through basically neighborhoods of people. I guess just because they lived really close to
The
him.
old door-to-door act.
Oh
huh?
yeah.
Oh. Sheesh.
Sorry, reading through.
How you feeling today? Oh, not too bad. I got a bit of a headache.
So there are these two brothers. There are these two brothers and their two neighbors, Tommy and Elsie. They had all died in similar circumstances within a 9-month period. The Smith brothers' nephew gave evidence about, secondhand evidence about their deaths. There have been a lot of like suspicion about the guy just because they were all linked to him, like all the people that were like dying.
He's the common
he
thread.
He was the common thread, and I was just like, this is insane. But people kept like, I mean, different age ranges of people went to him.
So it wasn't like he was specifically targeting a certain demographic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
He
but
just didn't like people breathing.
Yeah.
It's my air.
God complex.
Yeah.
I make you die.
And he would also like forge things on their like certificates, like death certificates.
Like the ways they passed away, or
It says here that he had written on a cremation certificate that that Shipman had been in the house 2 hours before one of his patients died, and within the hour of his death. Or I guess not like forging, my bad, just like saying that he was there at the time, like right before
so
they
making
died.
a signature kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think was insane.
So
how did he end up getting caught? And what was his like his total, so to speak? I know that sounds bad. It's not like a high score, but
right. Definitely not a high score, but you know that kind of helps people size how.
I'm trying to look at this page here. I'm sorry. The alcohol is like starting to get to me. I'm starting to like feel warm, and I'm just like looking at my phone. I'm just like, what does this say?
Shout out once again to
Fontaflora.
Fontaflora.
Thank you for this incredible feeling.
Did you already pound that bad boy?
It's almost done. Yes.
Dang, you might beat me, homie.
I am moving the beer towards Irving, so we could get a little bit more out of it.
He's a testy boy.
I wish this kind of went more in depth about like what kind of evidence was like what more evidence was left behind. But at 55, he was sentenced for life.
Yeah. Oh, so he's still alive.
Yeah, he was convicted in like 2000.
So yeah.
Oh, so recently.
Yeah,
recently.
He's like
Pretty, we were alive.
Yeah.
pretty significant like modern day killer.
Shit. All right. Now, would you say he was a product killer or a process killer?
I'd say this is, I mean, just like from what I've read, it seems more about like the process.
I would agree.
My guy was probably more of a.
I think your guy was more of a process killer as well.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he would bind people and.
He was into it.
Yeah, he would bind them to his bed or this, like, wood thing that he made that was up on a wall.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, because, like, I know that, like, me and Dima were talking about, you know, this shit the other day, and we were talking about, like, some people feel like they have to kill people.
Yeah. No, that
like for the better good of or whatever situation they're in. Like that's how they do good is by killing.
Your guy would also sometimes leave people alive and like torture them for days before killing them, and would make them call or write letters to their family about their whereabouts so they wouldn't call like a missing person. So.
If I send a letter to my grandparents telling them where I'm at, they know something's wrong. That might be my MO if I ever get in that situation. Mm-hmm. Dear Grandma, everything's A-okay.
I'm not.
I'm at camp and I hate it.
This writing is too nice.
Yeah.
So, boy, who did?
All right. Yeah.
We have our.
Mine's a little bit more long-winded. This is a guy that I heard about a couple years ago, and I've listened to a lot of stuff on him. He is a little bit lesser known. But yeah, so his name is Robert William Picton. Most of his friends would call him Willie. Sometimes he would call himself Bob, but not that often. He was born on October 24th, 1949 in... I just looked it up because I didn't write it down and I forgot. Oh, Coquitlam, Canada. And
you love the Canada.
Oh, Canada. So he was born and mostly raised on a pig farm in Coquitlam, and his family had like a long history. Like his great grandfather owned a pig farm. His whole family was involved in pig farming. So he was one of 3 kids. He had a brother and a sister. The brother was older, the sister was younger, so he was the middle child. His sister didn't really live on the farm with the family. She was sent to the city in Vancouver to live in a boarding house, and she had more of a normal life. So it was him, his older brother, David. His older brother, David, and his mother and father running this pretty profitable pig farm, but in Coquitlam, being a more white-collar area, they were still looked down upon as, the pig farmers.
So I guess, this, you would say, would probably, since he was born in, 49, you said? Mm-hmm. This is probably in the 70s?
His active years, as far as people know, were from 95 to 02.
Oh, so this is later.
Yeah.
Okay. But in terms of growing up, in the
60s, 70s. So he was known at school for being the dirty boy. He smelled bad. His family.
I referred to myself as the dirty boy.
So, running off of that, I think we all know, anyone that knows me knows that we're not friends, me and this guy.
No, you and him are definitely not friends. Him and his brother at school were always known as the dirty boys. Their family would, they had pigs in the pig farm. They had chickens and cows and other smaller livestock, and they would let the animals traipse in and out of their house.
Nah, dude.
So they were just living.
What was that word that you just used?
Traipse.
This is going to be the vocab word.
Foy gets the word of the day?
Yeah, I award Foy the word of the day. Can you explain what that means?
Cattywampus, you know that?
Just trying to get a new word. I don't have a formal definition, but traipse is just sort of la-di-da, walking around, kind of, have along here, passing through. And, animals are animals. They will poop anywhere.
Yeah.
So they're just living in filth. And it is rumored and reported by multiple people that knew Willie that he was terrified of water. So he never bathed. It was a fight to get him to bathe.
Wow.
So not only is he living in a place where you have animals just, defecating everywhere along
he ain't washing your butt.
Yeah, he's not washing his own butt.
Right. And if that wasn't enough,
dirty boy.
He often would be found when he was having trouble in school, or he had this calf that was his that he was raising, that was his best friend, that he would feed after he got off school. His family killed it and cooked it.
Oh no.
And they would often find him in a cow carcass. Just hanging out, just taking a nap.
Oh, that reminds me of Freddy Got Fingered when when he when he's playing in the street because the CEO of the company that he was trying to get a job for making cartoons with told him to get inside the animals that he was drawing for his cartoons. So he finds this roadkill deer, and he's puts it on and starts wearing the street. He's like, get inside the animals, get inside the animals. And just
anyone that hasn't seen that movie,
please go see it.
Go see it. What is it called?
It's Freddy Got Fingered. It's got Tom Green from back in the day.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh, buddy, we got it on DVD.
I was almost gonna be I got it on VHS.
I was about to say, you got it on DVD. What a statement for 2020.
Yeah, dude, vintage. But yeah, all right, continue, please.
Yeah, so it's thought amongst a lot of people that Willie kind of got a disregard for the value of human life and how his family went about things. When he was in his early teens and his brother was older, his brother was involved in a hit and run and killed somebody, and his mother helped them hide and bury the body.
Oh shit!
They never reported it.
Oh my god.
Right. And his mother was described as this, like, in her early 30s. She went completely bald and all migrated to her face.
Oh.
And she was, like, tiny, round face, and she had, like, this weird voice that she always sounded like she was just screeching. And his brother had speech impediments, and it got worse when he got older.
So it seems like the whole family.
The whole family's fucked. Yeah. So, dirty child, weird growing up. He and his brother were responsible for taking care of the pigs. When they were both in their early 20s, both of their parents died within a couple of years of each other, so they inherited the farm. And they sold portions of the farm, and practically in that, like, time became millionaires. So, around this time...
So not only do you have a guy sleeping in cow carcasses, or pig carcasses, and being a dirty boy, you have just given him several $1 million to...
Run around wearing that...
To continue to live that lavish life.
Yeah.
Wearing dead animals, screaming, I'm a farmer.
Get away from... Don't touch me with water. Yeah. So, at that time... They sold a portion of the farm. I think the brother sold a portion of his and bought another property right down the street.
Where is this?
Coquitlam, Canada.
Canada, right?
I know it's like another subset, like British Columbia or something like that.
BC, yeah.
Yeah.
That's on the east?
East,
coast?
yeah.
Close to Vancouver.
Okay. Which is on the west? Vancouver.
Whatever it is close to Vancouver.
All right. West Coast.
So...
Sorry, Canada, we're not familiar yet.
It's just so big.
But we're coming to visit and we'll learn everything,
Yes.
I swear. Just open up to us and teach us. We're coming hard.
So I can't remember if it was on the actual farm property or on the property that the brother bought down the street, but they opened something called the Piggy Palace Good Time Society.
Holy shit!
Which was which they registered as a non-profit, like, social club.
All right, Nick is covering his mouth. What do you have to say?
The Piggy Palace.
Oh man, there's so many jokes.
Yeah. All right. So it was registered as a nonprofit. They said that it was, like, basically like an event space for all these fundraisers and stuff, but it essentially turned into just a big old party place. And they would have upwards of, like, 1,700 people there.
Whoa.
And it was frequented by the Hells Angels.
Oh,
All right. Okay.
So,
shit got rowdy.
also including Vancouver sex workers from the Vancouver, what specific area? The downtown east side of Vancouver, which is very well known for poverty, drug use, and sex workers.
Yep.
So, around this time that the Piggy Palace opened and the brothers came into all this money, there was disappearances of a lot of sex workers on the downtown east side. But there was no real police work done with these disappearances because they're sex workers.
Right.
In the police eyes, they're already undesirables, so these disappearances weren't being investigated, and a large portion of the people that went missing, they weren't reported missing until years after they actually disappeared.
Because I'm assuming they'd already been kind of on the down.
Written off.
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
You would think that, but a lot of people that were involved in sex work in that area were people that received welfare, people that had children in, the welfare system. They were still relatively close with families, but a lot of them were addicted to coke and heroin.
If
A
we're
lot of
talking
them,
Hells Angels, crystal meth.
yeah, and the majority of them were either infected with HIV or hepatitis, but a lot of them were still involved relatively with their families and especially the community there. So they knew that they were missing. Like, they would leave their belongings in hotel rooms. No one would hear from them. They wouldn't pick up their welfare checks. So obviously
Something's going on.
something happened to them because they don't have the means to just, like, get up and go.
Right.
but the police weren't investigating it. So getting into that, the GoPro's beeping.
Yeah, the GoPro's beeping.
It looks like it turned off.
I'm gonna say it turned off.
We still
I
got.
still got that one.
The other one.
Night night, little buddy.
Alright. So what really kind of sparked things off was in 1997, Willie was charged, not convicted, of attempted murder of a woman named Wendy Lynn Eistetter. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her last name. But she was a sex worker that he picked up on the downtown east side. She went over to his house in Coquitlam, and
This is outside of
Vancouver. Yeah.
Thus, meaning had nothing to do with the Piggy Palace.
Well, a lot of the sex workers would frequent the Piggy Palace.
Okay.
Is the Pig Palace still open?
No.
Okay. Thought it could be like a spring break kind of thing.
No. Absolutely not.
You don't want to go?
No.
Road trip.
Well, there's nothing left. Well, get into that.
Oh, get to it. Cut it down.
So she went to the police saying that Willie had, basically she came over with the promise of sex, drugs, and alcohol in payment.
Sort of rock star lifestyle.
So he cuffed her and stabbed her multiple times.
Oh.
She was able to...
That wasn't in the verbal contract.
She was able to get out of her cuffs and stab him as well.
Wow.
Not killing him, but she got away. She went to the police.
Get him,
She
bro.
might have already been in that situation before, it seemed like.
Right, possibly. And this was after the point where a lot of women had already gone missing.
Yeah, I
And
see.
a lot of the people in the community were...
A little worried, probably.
Right, they were like holding forums and being like, okay, some people are going missing.
Yeah.
Like there were some people like holding self-defense classes for these women. And so she got out of the cuffs. I think she stabbed him, but she got away. She went to the police. She went to the hospital. He went to the hospital as well. They were in the same hospital
Oh my god.
and said, hey, this guy tried to fucking kill me. And nothing happened.
Huh.
The charges were dropped in 1998. This happened in 1997. 1998, the charges were dropped because the prosecution because like he was charged.
Right.
The prosecution said that they didn't find her as a credible witness because she was a drug addict and a sex worker.
Yep.
So later on that year, in 1998 and 1999, police interviewed Picton and his brother after receiving anonymous tips that he was connected to the disappearance of these women. But nothing happened from it. So finally, in February of 2002, 5 years after this happened, Willie and his brother, David, their house was raided because there was a tip that they were involved with illegal firearms.
Like smuggling them or trafficking them or...
I don't know if it was like trafficking, but being involved with the Hells Angels and everything in the Piggy Palace, it was highly possible.
Right.
And they found weapons. And while they were searching the house, they found multiple pieces of women's clothing in Willie's house.
Oof.
And then they were both charged with weapons offense and released. So then after that, after finding the clothes, so like they get a tip that there's arms dealing or whatever, immediately raid the house. This girl comes in with stab wounds. Hey, this guy tried to kill me. Oh,
5 years prior.
Right, 5 years prior. Oh, you're a druggie prostitute. I don't believe you.
Get out of here.
But after that happened with the arms deal thing, they kept Willie under strict surveillance. So I think it was like February 5th, 2002, that the raid happened for the guns. On February 22nd, Willie was arrested on 2 counts of first-degree murder. So finally, they're keeping him under surveillance. They're following him. They find the woman's clothing. They arrest him. they put together a total of 27 charges of first-degree murder.
Oh my god.
And this is, to the point that this happened in 2002, the largest investigation on a serial killer in Canadian history.
Wow.
It's reported by the end of 2003 with excavation and everything, looking through the farm and the property for bodies, about $70 million.
Shit.
So,
Dirty boy came a long way.
they never found a whole body. They would find bones, they would find pieces, they would find teeth, jawbones.
So you'd obviously been doing this long enough to know how to cover these things up.
So it is speculated that he would either, or both, feed the bodies to the pigs. And it's reported on video of two of his associates hearing, two of the guys that used to like frequent the Piggy Palace, hearing Picton talk about handcuffing, strangling, and then bleeding and gutting sex workers and then feeding them to the pigs.
Oh.
And it was also
Yes.
speculated that whatever parts the pigs didn't eat or whatever parts he just kind of wanted to get rid of, he would process with the pork meat and sell and give to the community.
Oh, that's gross. Yeah.
So,
The other white meat.
yeah. And like he would just give meat to like locals. Like business owners, he would just give it to people. And then let alone like what they're actually selling from the farm. So his trial was on January 30th, today, 2006.
You planned that.
I didn't.
You planned
I didn't plan it.
Staging ass.
But
14 years.
yeah, so 14 years ago was the very start of Robert Picton's trial. And at the time, one charge was dropped for insufficient evidence, and their justification for insufficient evidence was that it was a Jane Doe. Because they couldn't identify the DNA. It, like,
So a Jane Doe means...
Kind of like a John Deere. It's anybody.
Yeah. Gotcha.
John Doe.
John Doe?
Yeah,
So
John Deere.
John Deere? No, that's factory
tractor.
equipment.
That's tractors.
That's tractors.
That's what they would have used on the farm.
They might have been John Deere's on the farm. I don't know what they do in Canada, but
Dear
Yeah.
John. Dear John Deere. My bad.
so during the time of the trial, there was a huge media ban. So there was no
Oh shit.
media on the prosecution, what they actually found on the farm. But in 2007, there were details released to the media.
So a year later.
So a year later, basically, that when they were doing the investigation on the farm, they would find skulls cut in half with hands and feet stuffed inside them,
Shit.
bones and teeth found by the slaughterhouse and outside the pig pens.
Oh.
So that's pretty justified that he was feeding the bodies to the pigs. Because
Yeah.
pigs will eat fucking anything.
Yeah.
Me too.
Kind of funny, while they were raiding his house, they found a .22 caliber revolver with a dildo attached to it,
What in the hell?
with Picton and other victims' DNA found on it.
That's gross.
And he's
Part.
and the
barrel?
The barrel, yes.
Kill shot.
So, and he said that it was a makeshift silencer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They
Yeah,
also
that-
found syringes with blue liquid in them, and then Spanish fly aphrodisiac. I didn't do any research on what that was. And then going through the whole property, and I think they did some investigating into the Piggy Palace as well. They found about 80 good samples of DNA, half male, half female, pretty much even split. In the investigation, there was also a video testimony from a friend of Picton's, saying that Picton told him that the best way to kill a woman that was addicted to heroin was injecting her with windshield washer fluid.
Oh.
So that's the blue syringes.
Huh.
Yeah. So his often favorite way of killing people was binding them, raping them, torture, stabbing, getting them super, super high, overdoses, stuff like that.
Slow.
So the whole thing with the investigation is super fucked up. So it is thought that he killed upwards of 49 women. He was documented to have said that he was sad that he got so sloppy because he was so close to making it even 50 to an undercover officer that was undercover as another cellmate while he was in prison.
Oh, they do that shit, huh?
Yeah. So, he, at the original trial, was only charged with 6 counts of second-degree murder. The judge didn't change out the jury when the jury, one of the jury members said that she automatically thought he was innocent and nothing would change her mind. Didn't sub out, didn't rotate the jury.
Well, I don't know how it goes in Canada, but I know in the U.S. that's an obvious get the hell out of here. We're going to find somebody else.
Apparently, one of the jury members asked the judge, are we able to say yes as far as finding him guilty if we infer the accused acted indirectly?
Indirectly?
Yeah. Because he had accomplices too. He had accomplices that would go down to the downtown east side and pick up women and bring them to his house. And so he was sentenced to a life sentence, possibility of parole after 25 years, which was the highest sentence you could get really in Canada at the time. That being said, he was only really convicted at the time of 6 murders when there were 26 that he was being tried for, technically. 27 if you don't count them throwing out one for insufficient evidence because it was a Jane Doe. But, like I said, he was technically confessed to upwards of 49.
49, yeah.
So where's he at today?
He is still in prison, as far as I'm aware of, in Vancouver.
And you said that it was 25 years. It was lifetime, but it was up to 25 years on parole.
Right. So I think he got sentenced, actually sentenced finally, in 2007.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So if he had killed 49 women, and you said that the DNA was split. Or no, excuse me, not 49 women, 49 people?
49 women. He was only known to kill women.
Okay, alright.
But yeah, the DNA they found was only salvageable good samples, so it's very possible that there were many, many more.
No.
Go ahead, Nick.
Round 2. So I'm moving on to Burial Beer Company's Skillet Donut Stout. I've heard really good things about this. I think this is another North Carolina beer, right? It's from...
In no way, shape, or form associated with the burial of any of the...
No, but it is very fitting. Yeah, Asheville. Everybody likes Asheville out here in North Carolina.
Shout out Asheville.
But yeah, this bad boy is repping 8%, 60 IBUs. Yeah, so... Party on, Wayne.
Cheers.
Irvin, you moved on to another one. What do you got now?
I am drinking Crush Raspberry Sour from the 10 Barrel Brewing Company in Oregon.
Hell yeah.
Oregon.
Pretty nice, actually. I was very surprised by the pleasant taste.
Yo, this right here is pretty subtle. You want to give it a go?
Switch.
You mean you're going to move on to your number 2?
I am. I'm about to go ahead and
Another coffee.
crack open this bad boy. There we go. And we actually visited our local
Gate City Growlers.
Gate City Growlers.
We hung out with this fine lady. Her name is shout out
Carrie.
to Carrie. She definitely hooked us up tonight. We brought Demas beer game way the fuck up.
No more Bud Light Lime.
No more Bud Light Lime or what is it? Reds?
Red cider.
Red cider.
Jesus.
So I just opened myself up a can, or let's see what's the
Edge of something.
Edge of the Continent ciders. This is a semi-dry cider, and I'm looking at 5.5% alcohol.
All right.
So
Shout out to Daniel and Dave, owners of Gate City Growlers.
What up, boys?
thank you. Now that I kind of opened my beer up and shouted out the company, I kind of want to, I guess we're moving on to my...
batter up, dog. Get the big swing.
So, I know Irvin kind of said a similar thing. Myself looked through various sites that listed famous or well-known serial killers, and I didn't really want to take that route. I didn't want to cover someone that has already had so much publicity attached to them, at least not here in the States. So I found a serial killer in China.
Oh.
Okay.
His name is Yang, and the last name starts on the X, so I'm assuming it's X. That's the
Or she, like a Z sound, like
Zhao. Zinhai.
Zhai?
I don't know.
And this guy, let me tell you, born in July 1968, born to a very, very low-class family in the, I guess, farming region of China.
Farmer. Farmer?
He was a farmer, yes.
Here we go again. You can't trust a farmer. I'm learning that.
Another farmer. So this guy grew up in a very, I guess, low-income situation. And he, from what I read about him, he was pretty much known in China as the most prolific serial killer that China's ever seen since the establishment of the People's Republic of China. So, at the age of 17, he kind of got, I guess, tired or fed up of the farmer lifestyle, and he moved out. He moved from his mom and dad's place and traveled around China as a laborer. So he picked up oddball jobs, just doing things for people, and it looks like, I think around 1991, he was sentenced to a labor camp because of a theft that he'd committed years prior. So it was a gap between the time he committed the theft and by the time they got him. But anywho, he spent 3 years in this labor camp. I don't know what happens in Chinese labor camps, but I'm assuming they're not all that good.
Probably not.
So he got out in 99. So 1999, Yang got out of this Chinese labor camp, and I guess he was so pissed off at the world or something that he got out, and immediately in 1999 he committed his first murder. And since then he was very, very active until 2003.
I like how you said that. He convicted murder.
Yeah, he committed murder. He not only committed murder, but he freaking made the word what it is, because this guy literally used axes, hammers, shovels. I mean, anything that he could get his hands on.
Implements of destruction for murder.
And ironically enough, all these things resemble like like the farmer lifestyle where you have to use these tools. But so yeah, he sometimes even not only killed one person but killed a whole family.
Oh.
If I'm gonna be a farmer, I'm gonna do it my
Right,
way.
exactly. So yeah, he was very, very active. There's a report that in October of 2002, Yang killed a father and a 6-year-old girl with a shovel and raped a pregnant woman who survived the attack with serious head injuries. So that's exactly how it sounds. That is exactly how it sounds, and that kind of gives you a better picture of what this guy was capable of. Yeah, and so he was finally arrested and detained on the 3rd of November in 2003. And pretty much the media hopped on it because there was a lot of murders happening within that 99 to 2003 range. And they gave him the nickname the Monster Killer. And he was
Monster Killer?
Whatever that term is, he freaking was that, Like, I couldn't imagine being, like, viewing it from, like, even, like, a movie setting, like, viewing it from a movie setting where you just have this freaking family just doing their thing or whatever, and this guy just comes out of nowhere and just starts hacking out people with a freaking axe or like hitting people with a shovel.
He just walks out of the brush with his pitchfork. He's like, "Adore!"
And I mean, we don't mean this to be funny or anything, but like, this guy was like,
he didn't mean to be funny either.
Yeah, he was serious.
Make light of the situation.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, he shortly after he was arrested, he confessed to 65 murders.
Shit.
Wow.
23 rapes.
See, this is what I admire, though. He admitted it.
Yeah, he admitted it.
Unlike my guy.
My guy didn't confess. He pled not guilty.
Yeah.
I don't know about my guy.
Your guy.
There's really no way he could have pled not guilty.
I don't think he. I don't know.
Yeah, and so from the way he attacked these people, I guess there's 5 attacks that caused serious injuries, but not complete death. Mm-hmm. So, I'm assuming from those attacks and from those people surviving, they ended up, obviously, notifying law enforcement. And
did he have a type?
So this guy seemed like he was pretty much in it to just kill anyone and everything,
So would that be product?
No, because he's not doing anything with the bodies.
Yeah, in process.
Process again, process across the board?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, unless you want to construe it to be like... No, I don't think really there's a way of...
I mean, your guy would probably be the closest to...
Yeah, so he could have been, like, he's a little bit of both if you think about it, but it's like, was he using the people to make more meat? I think it was just, like, the most convenient way for him to dispose of bodies.
Yeah.
And we don't know if there was, like, he found any joy from that. He could have had a little bit of product in there, but he was mostly process.
Okay.
Yeah, so there is Yang Zenhai for you guys, and it seems like everyone we covered, which I feel like this is if there's any good coming out of this, it lets us know that there's many of these serial killers all around the world. We have Nick. I think your guy was
Texas.
in Texas.
Yeah. Mine's from Hyde, England,
Canada, and China. So these occurrences happen all around the world, and it's not something that
they never caught Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
He's still out there.
And that's also another thing, right? As I was preparing for this podcast, I was looking through lists of serial killers that never been caught, that are very notorious,
that very well could still be alive and just in like what they call a hibernation period. Because there are people that will kill once every couple of years. and go through like long hibernation periods, and then every time that they come back more intense. And then there's people that do more continuous killing, like my guy, and he just it still becomes more intense. But there are some that think more about like when the police is getting hot on their tail or whatever, that they go into hibernation. And it's a lot of times people that are in situations like your guy, that they're kind of a product of the system that they're put into, as far as like crime and being institutionalized in like with the labor camp.
Right.
Your guy's just kind of
The candy
Drafted
yeah.
government.
Yeah, your guy probably had some kind of god complex.
Yeah.
My guy was like semi-impoverished growing up, and then had all this money.
Well, I mean, it seemed like whenever you said that hibernation thing, it really came across to me, and I'm thinking about it more of like a psychological thing, right? Like the way thought patterns work, or the way depression works, right? It's like you feel like shit for a certain amount of time, and there's certain things that you do in order to make it better or make it worse. You know, there's hibernation periods, right? There's periods where the depression wears off, or it gets more serious, or maybe you hide from that for a little bit, and then the moment comes about where it hits you, and it doesn't just hit you, it hits you real hard.
This shit slaps.
Yeah, it slaps, exactly. And I kind of wanted to, you know, for the latter part of this podcast, kind of examine that, like what, because a lot of these people, a lot of serial killers have very similar mind patterns. They all, for instance, right? They all seem like, well, a lot of them feel like I think you mentioned this earlier, that they have to kill. They have to do this thing. There's this thing in their head that it's forcing them to do this thing, right? And I actually watched a couple of interviews done, you know, interviewing serial killers, and that's something that was repeatedly brought up, was the fact that a lot of the time they didn't necessarily, maybe it's a self like defense kind of mechanism, where a lot of the time it seemed like they didn't like necessarily weren't fully aware of what they were doing. It was just an instinct. It was an urge to do what they did. It was something that they had to do. So I kind of wanted to kind of get your guys' thoughts on that. Like, do you guys notice that a lot of these serial killers have similar thought patterns, or maybe just interesting thought patterns in general? Or?
I think, like, I can agree with you with, like, being a product of their environment. Maybe they're not, like, consciously aware of that,
right.
But, like, you know, subconsciously something, like, develops or, like, snaps, and then, like, they evolve into, like, this other type of person whenever they are ensuing, like, these acts.
I think that, and I have a memory of listening to something about Willie Picton, and it might be similar with yours, that if I'm remembering this correctly, and I will look into it afterwards and we can correct it on another one.
Yeah.
But he had a very strong relationship with his mother, and she very much looked down on pretty women, like,
In terms of, like, vanity?
yeah, like, was
whatever
always
societal
like,
construct of a person.
yeah, like, well, and like prostitutes and stuff like that, and it was always like, don't go around those girls,
Oh, I see.
that kind of thing. So it could have been, and I'm pretty sure that it is him that this was about. So he only killed sex workers. I honestly can't remember if he did have sex with them or not. I'm pretty sure he did, but he was, in his opinion, like, with his very strong relationship with his mom, ridding the world of undesirables
In his mind.
in his mind. And I mean, it could be, I don't know what, if there was like a particular like neighborhood or demographic that he was in, it was just like, I am doing the world a favor kind of thing.
Oh. Yeah.
Niggas.
And if you want to say something about that too, I do have something else I want to bring up. Because I mean, your guy killed kids, well, young men between the ages of like 13 and 20.
So I'd probably have to do more reading on it, but I think his thing is he was kind of disassociated from the social construct of what is like normal behavior. I think a big part of his thing is like he was attracted to men, and because of what was society at that point in time, he felt he couldn't be himself.
So prey on the impressionable.
Yeah, so he was basically trying to find like a weak chink in the armor, so to speak, as far as like what was available to him. And like, you know, he had this candy factory which he used obviously to his advantage. He had all kinds of like money, so he wasn't like worried about that. And you know, what was he, VP you said?
Yeah, he was vice president of the...
So like, I mean, I'm not saying that like he was like Fortune 500 rich, but
he was abusing his power.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think he had disassociated himself from what is norm in the day and acted out on it in an irrational and lethal way. So basically he would get his rocks off and then clean up behind him, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh, and your guy, disposing of bodies, he was known to bury...
Ooh, this is fizzy.
He had rented a boat shed, and the majority of his victims were found buried there.
Yeah, I remember.
Or they were
that.
buried at like the beach, like on the beach. In,
Yo, this is really good.
yeah, go ahead and what are you drinking?
So I just started hanging out with this owl. His name is Ricky Weiss. All right, so yeah, no, Night Shift Brewing. They make Ricky. I think it's Weiss. I could be wrong. Weiss. Ricky Weiss. This bad boy is the mixed fermentation sour ale aged with raspberries and limes. Yo, I fucks with it hard.
Let me get a taste of that.
We're looking at 5.3%, so it's like, you know, average beer.
Yeah.
But it's a party to can for sure. Give it a go.
Take one down, pass her around.
Okay.
If you had to describe the taste, what would it?
It's very raspberry forward.
Let's say fruity.
Berry City, dog.
But it's not like
Sweet
fruity. It's just
like-
it's true sour.
Let me get that.
Rhonda?
We do not condone tobacco abuse.
Yeah.
I don't condone any of
We're
that.
not plugging any of that.
We did enough of that on episode 2, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, going back to episode 6, which is this episode, I kind of want to... See that reflex there? Take this time out before we dive a little bit deeper and kind of end the episode off to thank the viewers and the listeners. We really, really appreciate you guys, and we really thank you guys for giving us a listen, and maybe, hopefully, we kind of brought a little bit of insight into what all is going on with these specific individuals, no matter how bad they are. Expanding your kind of knowledge,
Awareness.
and awareness on this kind of stuff is, I know, sure as hell beneficial for me. But yeah, shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. And you know, we're getting the feedback and we're getting the results. Yeah, we're getting the feedback and we're getting the results on episode 1. So, and the feedback and results have been amazing. So, thank you guys.
We actually got our first comment back on episode 1. It was a correction on what we stated about Mac Miller. Let me see if I can find my phone so I can look it up. I want to go ahead and send that shout out if I can.
Yeah.
So continue talking while I.
Well, the plan, just to kind of give you guys a little bit more insight, the plan is to continue to try to make this experience of listening to this podcast as immersive as possible. We have now 2 cameras. We're planning on getting a couple more microphones so that everyone could be heard. And if I can, insert a little... Everyone has a voice. And so, yeah, we're planning on doing that, and there's a couple of things that are in the works that I feel like you guys are going to really love, and I'm not going to reveal that yet, but we will reveal it soon. So, yeah, there's a lot of things to be excited about. So stay tuned, really. Did you find the...
I don't know how to do technology right now. No, I didn't, but...
Well, maybe we'll give them a shout out towards the end of the podcast, but I kind of, to round this kind of podcast episode up, is there anything you guys find like we missed or that maybe needed a higher kind of concentration on, or maybe something that we need to focus on a little bit more to end the podcast on?
If I may.
Yeah.
Please and thank you.
So I've always been interested in Willie Picton because of the concept that it brings up with the concept of the lesser dead. So I touched on it a little bit when I was talking about the majority of his crimes. But it's very, very evident in this case, and I think is very evident probably if you look more into it in a lot of y'all's cases as well, that a lot of these people are not caught as early as they could have been because of social stigmas and lack of not hating on police work, but serious police work. So it was in 1997 that the woman was stabbed and escaped, and her testimony was not taken credible because she was a sex worker and a drug addict.
And this is in regards to
Robert Picton.
Robert Picton.
So I did a little bit more research into the society and community of the Vancouver downtown east side, and the accounts from the people in the community and the police. So the police were quoted saying that there's no body, there's no crime scene, there's no crime. There's no crime to investigate. These people are going missing, but there's nothing for us to lead off of, which is semi-understandable because there's no direction to go to.
Like, as someone that used to do a lot of administrative work inside of a government institution, I understand that train of thought. Like, you're basically trying to do nothing with something.
Right. But the police are also stated saying that it was suspected that there was a serial killer responsible for 29 disappearances of sex workers. So from 1978 to 1995, there were counted 6 missing sex workers. People reported missing. And then later on in 1995, there were 3 in 1996, 8 in 1997, 6 in 1998, and really an unknown amount of 10 to 15 or higher in 1999 in age ranges of 19 to 46. But because a lot of these people were drug users and sex workers and people with HIV and hepatitis, it wasn't looked into. There was a woman by the name of Jamie Lee Hamilton in March of 1999, and she was a trans former sex worker that was the director of a drop-in clinic center for sex workers that called a conference with the town to draw attention to all of these disappearances and basically calling out police that all of these people are going missing. And because there's nowhere to necessarily find them, they're not looking into it. And this is after Wendy Eistetter, I think is how I'm going to pronounce her last name, Eistetter had filed a report that this man tried to kill her.
Right.
And he had also been known for, like, there were often investigations into the Piggy Palace.
So I'm not trying to mansplain here, but I guess what you're kind of bringing light on is the fact that because certain demographics of people are in lower income situations, or as a result of those low income situations have to resort to sex working, and as a result of that become addicted to hard drugs.
Other way around as well. A lot of this in this situation was women were getting involved in substance abuse, not being able to hold down a job, and the only thing they were able to do was sex work.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and that way too, because of all of those things, I guess
They weren't taken seriously.
officials,
Right.
the governmental officials, if we can call the police that, weren't as concerned.
Because they were already undesirables.
Right.
And
Which is
something
a problem. It's
Right.
problematic, yeah.
And something that the police were found to say was, no one's looking for these women. No one's necessarily missing them. It's not like they have families. But in this community with Jamie Lee Hamilton, the director of the drop-in center, they are actively looking for a lot of these people. And they have children. They have families that they're still in contact with, even though they're in hard situations. They still have people that love them and miss them and want to know what happened to them.
Right.
And they said that the police claimed the women disappearing were too transient to believe that someone actually killed them, and they just up and left. And like I said earlier, they weren't in a situation where they could just up and leave. Like, these women were on welfare and not picking up their welfare checks because they got killed.
Yeah.
And no one was looking into it.
I had a girlfriend that was a transient once. Still miss her.
But yeah, it's a problem in even certain areas of today's society. When certain people are killed or found missing, they're not as investigated as higher profile people that go missing, because it's sort of like, oh well, we're better off without them anyway. And you never know if he could have, because he pled not guilty.
Right.
Could have killed other people because he lived in a more white collar affluent area. So
Had a boatload of money.
had a boatload of money.
Yeah.
I wish I had a boatload of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to Aruba.
Don't we all?
Well, your guy had a boatload of bodies in a boat storage area. So
That's true.
yeah, that's just something that is very common, especially in that time period. Between, like, I feel like really up until now, it's gotten maybe a little bit better, but
I'd say like the 80s and 90s for sure.
yeah. And I mean, this was even 95, but it was in Canada, so I don't know the social construct of the era of the time, but
Well, I mean, that's definitely something very important to shed light to, is the fact that certain demographics aren't as covered. And when I say covered, I mean whether it be through the struggles they have because of their scenario or situations they're in, by the media or by other institutions or outlets. And B, just not given the proper
Care. Care is a good word.
they're not
for
as
that.
valued.
Right. By
I value everybody. I think we should all value everybody.
Yeah. And if that's one thing that we can kind of
The message
Like-
for this show.
Like, I think with that, it's like you have to prove that, like, I think so it comes like down to care and love. I think so, like, love everybody is like something that's kind of like preached here and there.
Right.
Is to, like, people in those situations, like, I'm not saying change them, don't change them, but force them to do better.
Right.
Give them the support to let them
Yeah.
enhance their situation.
as well as give them the knowledge to get out of the scenario they're in.
Oh, absolutely. Like, because I mean, I don't think that everyone that works a hard situation necessarily needs or wants to.
Right.
I think they do it. Needs is a bad word to use,
Yeah.
but I think it's something that comes out of necessity. And I don't know, man. It's hard. It's hard.
And I would like to throw out there, in this situation, a lot of these women were sex workers because of their situation.
Yeah.
But sex work is work, and sex work is valid.
I think some sex work is cool. I think other types of sex work are a little degrading.
Well, I mean, there's, prostitution rings and stuff like that. That is abuse.
We learned
and totally different.
We learned about Dima's favorite type of sex work yesterday. We
Did we now?
whilst perusing the deep web.
Oh God.
Not the dark web, the deep
The deep web.
Dima's really cool, really fond of the feeder-feedee scenarios.
Oh no.
Speaking very facetiously here.
Yes, please let that be known.
Just kidding. But that was a mind fuck. I didn't know that was a thing. I really didn't.
Well, there's a mind fuck for me. I can 100% tell you that.
Boy, could you explain feeder-feedee relations?
Okay, so the feed or feedee situation that we observed on said website, unsaid website, is basically a partnership where there is a person that gets fed and a person that feeds them. It can be a sexual relationship, it can be a power relationship, but in the situation that we observed, it was a sexual relationship where a man was constantly feeding this woman, and she's what, 300 pounds now?
So her original goal was 300 pounds, and I think she started like 100 and X pounds.
Yeah, she was like 150-ish.
Yeah.
Like, she was a very healthy, very, very average weight. And
Very healthy.
yeah, and but she was kind of like the pictures that we saw of her. She was kind of like a thicker woman.
I will say she held, like, once she met 300, she held it well. Like, she looked like not terrible.
She didn't look like she was 300 pounds.
No.
But now her goal is 4, and then after that her goal is 500.
That's insane.
And she weighs herself every morning and every night. She is, technically, I guess she is like a sex worker. Her and her partner do feeding videos of him feeding her.
Well, they also do sex videos.
They do videos of them having sex and all this kind of stuff. And she, like I said, she weighs herself every morning and every night.
We watched her eat 80 chicken nuggets.
80 chicken nuggets. She filmed
Irvin's face.
like 80 McDonald's chicken nuggets. And she's just like shoving stuff in her face. Her partner, her feeder, is shoving stuff in her face. And she like wants to feel every pound.
That's a lot of
That's her
pounds.
thing.
I originally thought you said like feet and feety
No,
instead of
feed.
and feedy.
I don't
no.
talk right.
Feed.
No, yeah, I get it now. Earlier I was like
80 chicken nuggets. Just
I was like,
so you have that in your mind. 80
chicken nuggets.
chicken nuggets.
Nick can only eat like.
I eat the 20 and I'm like, oh!
How much is 20? $5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't you? No, there was a time that you were getting the 50 count.
I did that twice in my
And you
life.
were miserable.
Yeah.
That's so much.
It's too much.
Well,
Alright.
having said all of that,
Shut up.
Yeah.
folks.
Segue.
Segway, thank you so much again, and the shout out from Nick.
Alright. So, a few days ago, we got our first comment on episode 1. It's coming out from a user, Brink of Disaster.
Nice.
So he clarified for us all of Mac Miller's accomplishments.
Yeah.
His complete how do you say that?
Discography.
I cannot talk, and I apologize. I'm not smart. So he laid it out for us real good. Went ahead and said that American rapper Mac Miller released 6 studio albums, 2 extended plays, 2 live albums, 13 mixtapes, 41 singles, including 13 as a feature artist, and 62 music videos. That blew me away.
It's a lot of music
That's
videos.
a lot of work.
That
Yeah,
dude,
that's a lot
That is
of
a
work.
lot.
that dude crushed it. He was so productive. And thank you, Brink. I can't say how much I actually appreciate that because I personally did not know that.
Yeah.
I probably would have never known that, honestly. And
And that's another good shout out that we should do. And rest in peace, Malcolm McCormick, aka Mac Miller. Just released
Circles.
a post. What is that
Posthumous.
word? Yeah, posthumous album release titled Circles. It was amazing.
yeah, we listened to a good chunk of that. I really liked it.
Yeah. So shout out to
Brink of Disaster.
Brink of Disaster and shout out to the great Mac Miller. I want to take this time to kind of give the guests kind of an opportunity to
Plug. Hit
plug
it.
themselves.
This camera, this camera, this camera, this camera.
This is the only one that's
This is the
working.
only Right there. I'm Irving. Again, you can follow me on Instagram at Swervin, SWRB, 4 I's and then an N. That's where I just post a lot of like my personal work. And thank you for having me. This has been really an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming, man.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Most of all. And quick kind of insert. Irvin is and will be kind of coming around the studio a little bit more and, manning the cameras and making sure everything is up and running.
Making sure I don't goof it up.
Yeah, troubleshooting. I know we had one camera die on us and battery, so
But it's new,
sorry
so it's
about
okay.
that. Yeah, we're still troubleshooting, so we'll see a lot more of hopefully Irvin and Foy, please.
Y'all heard all my stuff and all the bullshits on the previous 2 episodes, but Instagram, Facebook, Ann Foy Parker. That's Ann without an E. Golden Spiral Studios here in Greensboro, and Mother Tucker's Best Wings in Town. I work Sundays and Mondays during the day. This won't air in time, but Super Bowl coming up, so we're gonna be busy as hell. But Sundays and Mondays, come get some banging wings and other great food on the menu.
Yeah, and with that, Nick, Dima, we're signing off, and see you guys on the next one.
Don't forget to leave a comment in that there dog pile for us.
And subscribe.
Please subscribe. Run the numbers up. Comment. Give us feedback. We really, really, really appreciate feedback, and that's how we can kind of make this all a better experience for you guys. So
Rate and review.
yes. All right.
Thanks,
Signing off.
gang.
Bye-bye.
Bye.